Hello and welcome back. And today we're working on the XK. And why are we on the XK and not the Capri? Well, the Capri has had plenty of love and attention bestowed upon it in the last couple of weeks. I've been having the opportunity to work on it. And I've got a couple of urgent or jobs that are becoming urgent on the XK, which are starting to annoy me a little bit, and I really need to get those done. Also, it needs a service as well, oil and filters basically. That's all I'm going to do with it. It was serviced a year ago, back in May 2024, by the specialist that services my XF, or used to service my XF. And well, I'm not really going to go through how to service one of these because there's a really excellent channel. I'm going to share the love now because us YouTubers need to stick together. But there's a really excellent channel called Life on Cars. I'll put a link in the description. And it's a guy called Paul, and he has an XK similar to this one. I think his is 2006. It's one of the first ones, I believe. I may be wrong. But his is an XK. The difference between his and my one is that my one is supercharged. They're both 4.2 litre V8s. But this one is an XKR with a supercharger, and his is a normally aspirated XK. And he has got a massive playlist on all of the things that he's done on his XK Jag, and it's well worth a watch. If you have one of these cars, it's well worth a watch to go over there, subscribe to his channel, and look his playlist up, because he does all sorts of things to it. He's done stuff. He must have, I don't know, 50 plus videos on just the XK alone, and many other things as well. So I'm not going to go and duplicate all of that stuff. There's no need. He's done it perfectly well. And this really is just basically it's old school, drop the oil, change the filter, job done, you know. So it's as simple as that. We'll have a quick scan around just to show where stuff is and things like that. But what I am going to do to this car is I've got a warning light which is getting more and more common, coming up more and more often on the car when I get in to use it. And it first happened at the end of last summer. It was this warning light came on, and I thought, oh no, I can do without this one. But every time I switched off and started up again, it would go away and it wouldn't come back, and then occasionally it would come back, switch off, switch on, it would go away again. So I sort of left it knowing that the car was going to go into storage over winter. But I've had it out now just over a month, and the light, the warning light has come back on, and it comes back on much more often, and it seems to be associated with heat. And we've had quite a lot of hot weather this spring already in the UK, and yeah, with the sunshine and not many cold temperatures at all, this warning light seems to happen more often. And unfortunately, it's not a cheap fix. It could be, but I think you're wasting your time if you do. And it is also different to the XK. This is the XKR version, as I've said, and there's two ways of doing this sensor. And if you've got an XK, it's fairly simple to get at. If you've got an XKR, it's slightly more difficult. Not hard, I would think, but I've never done it, so we're going to try it. But let me show you what it is, and let's find out how to do it on an XKR. Well, it took a few seconds, but start the car. Occasionally it will be a delay, and sometimes it won't come on at all, especially if it's cooler, as I said. But what we have coming up on a regular basis now is check pedestrian system, and the car will be coming in for its MOT beginning of July, so about 6 weeks time, 5 or 6 weeks, something like that. And this will be an MOT fail. So what is check pedestrian system? Well, the pedestrian system on a Jag basically means that in the front of the bumper there are a couple of sensors. I believe they're operated by an air tube, that if you hit a pedestrian and this air tube is crushed in some way, the sensor picks that up and it pops the bonnet at the back with a couple of airbags. And it provides a cushion effect on the bonnet for the pedestrian that you have gone and hit. I suspect, I don't know how high these go, but I suspect also that it might also stop pedestrian actually hitting the windscreen as well, but I've never seen one pop, so I don't know. Maybe you can Google that and look it up. But on the bonnet, or under the bonnet, in the two rear corners of the bonnet, there's an airbag on each side, and that's what is triggered by these sensors. Now the sensor is in the front, there's one on each side, and they're a tiny little thing, and they're right behind the bumper, and we need to get at it to change it. But which one do we change? Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to put a code reader on the car, because it doesn't tell you which one on the dashboard you need to change. And my code reader is telling me that I've got the right front impact sensor is faulty, and it comes up with fault code B1004-96. So that's the one we're going to have to change, and there's no other way around it. You need to get the code read and go from there. Okay, right, the pedestrian impact sensor is somewhere around here, one on each side of the grille. I can't tell you exactly where without getting under there to look. That's what we're going to find out in a second. But on a normal standard XK with no supercharger, you can take this panel off here all the way along the front of the engine and get down behind the grille in front of the radiator, and get down and just about, if you've got nice long arms, just about get to the sensor to unplug it. But on the XKR, because it's got a supercharger, it's also got an intercooler which is down in front of the radiator, which then basically blocks off your access to be able to get to the back of the bumper. So I'm not going to take this off because it's like 16 million screws, and then I've just got to put it back on again. Take it from me, there's an intercooler in there and you can't get to the sensor to do what we want to do. So the only option we've got is basically from under the car, once we take off the under trays, and we've got two of them. We've got one that's under the engine, that's this one here, two screws at the front and a couple of screws at the back, or nuts and studs, and then we've got the under tray which is directly under the front of the nose, and we've got various fixings for this. Now I know from experience on my XF that these fixings here, they're on like captive clips, if you like, with the thread in, which they're both mild steel, might have been plated once upon a time, but over 10-15 years road salt etc is almost certainly going to corrode these screws or the threads of them, and they'll either break off or the screw will just twist and turn in the clip, or the clip will just turn and then you're stuck. So I've got new ones of these just in case these don't come off, and I'll probably put new ones on in place anyway. But we're going to get this off so we can get to the back of the bumper much easier. How many screws does it take to fix up a plastic under tray? 5? 10? 15? Nope. 21 screws to fix this tray to the underside of the nose of the car, plus 2 at the back to fit the engine under tray. 21 screws to fit that plastic tray on that car. I wonder whether the designer had nothing better to do that day. Why on earth do you need 21 screws to fix that up? Totally beyond me. Did they have an excess of screws or something they wanted to get rid of? That represents 21 potential sources of utter pain if they're seized up, because it's these little clips with a thread in, and you can see they're rusty, and if they, I've actually got one missing there, so I've actually only had to undo 20, but you can see that if they fail, you've got no chance of getting at them. It's an absolute nightmare. But I am so pleased that they all came off. I'm quite surprised. They're all starting to go rusty, as you can tell. So yeah, I'm glad I've done this now. You've got 3 on each wheel arch to secure the wheel arch liner at the back there, and the rest all around the front. Some are recessed in the panel, some are just flat on the bottom. But my goodness, 21 screws just to just to hold this all together. But they all come off, so I'm happy. Let's get on with the sensor. And just there on the end of my screwdriver you can see a blue plastic body with 2 screws. Hopefully they're going to undo, and that is your pedestrian impact sensor. It's actually bolted to the cross member of the front of the car. I'm not 100% certain on how this system works. I believe there is a, as I said already, there's a flexible tube in the bumper which responds to impact. That's all I can say really. And somehow then this sensor then triggers the airbags to go off. And you've got one on the other side as well. That one there on the left hand side, that's slightly easier to get at. But again, 2 screws. And off it comes in theory. So let's see if we can do it. So on the right hand side I've got this loom conduit running in front of me, but I should be able to get to those screws up there. Hopefully they will come undone. They're a bit crusty on the top. Hopefully, I'm just hoping that they're going to unscrew. And basically just 2 screws, unplug it, plug the new one in, that's the plan. But there is a slight snag. Looks like we're going to be lucky. They've both come undone, which is good news. There's a bit of rust on them, but it looks like they're plated, otherwise they'd be totally rusty. I think that rust is from the bracket more than anything else. So they've come undone easy enough. Now it's just a case, it's not very easy to see I'm afraid for you guys on the camera, but it's now a case of unplugging it. And yeah, leave that with us for a minute. Now if you've got big hands like me, then you're going to struggle to get the clip pushed back and the plug removed at the same time. And if it's been on a long time and it's dry like this one is, that makes it worse. So I've got to find a way of doing this without damaging anything like the clip or the wiring. Find a way of getting that plug off of there. Oh, just about grab the sensor, push the clip with my fingers and pull it, and it's there. There we go. One pedestrian sensor, old style. And here's the catch. This is the old one, part number 6521A4, code number 6W83-14B006-BD. It's a Continental part, it's got Jaguar written on it, it says made in Germany. 2-pin connector, and this is the replacement because they changed them. And the part number for this one is a C2P for Papa 17132. It's a genuine Land Rover Jaguar part. And yes, it's different. You can see straight away it's different before I even get it out of the packet. First of all, it's only got one hole for fixing it. It's a different shape, different colour, different everything. But hopefully it's got the same 2-pin plug, and that's what matters. So we need to get it out of the packet and get it offered up. The cost of it was not cheap. All in, VAT and shipping, £2 short of £170. £170 for this, and it's a common fault. I see a lot of this on the forums. Pedestrian, check Pedestrian System. Everybody says when that comes up and people ask advice, everybody says it'll be one of the sensors in the bumper. So it happens quite a lot. So yes, 170 quid, it's a lot of money for a sensor, and you've got 2, so the chances of the other one going quite high because the other one's original. But at the moment that seems to be working okay, so we'll only worry about the one we've got the problem with. But you can get second-hand ones off of I suppose written off cars and things like that, but if you're going to do that you might not get much life out of it because it might be one of these. They clearly changed it for a reason, different design and everything, and the electronics inside is probably different. But if you get a second-hand one, you might be doing it again in 6 months, 12 months time, maybe. Don't know, maybe you're lucky, you might not have to do it ever again. But anyway, this one's faulty according to the diagnostics, so we're going to get it swapped out and fit this rather expensive gold-plated plastic sensor. Okay, so we've only got the one hole on the new sensor, and then we've got the two original holes up there, captive nuts, with the hole in the bumper there where there's a little peg which goes in from the old one, and then the 2-pin plug is there as well. And as I showed you already, the new sensor has only got the one hole, and there's a peg on the back, and it won't fit that configuration up there. Now I'm told, looking at others that have done this, it doesn't matter which way around this sensor goes. It's not subject to orientation, so it hasn't got to be upside down or left to right or, you know, north, south, east, west. None of that, as far as I'm told. You can just basically plug it in, because all it's doing is responding to another signal from somewhere else. It's not based on whether it's a certain angle or whatever. And what I'm going to do, because the other problem is that the loom, the plug, that bit there, the loom is not very long at all, and I'm going to struggle to get that on and get the peg in the hole and the screw in. It's not going to happen, so I'm going to mount it back to front. I'm going to mount it so that it sticks out like that. So I'm going to pick up the one screw on the right hand side, actually the other way up, that's better. Pick up the one screw, just twist the plug round so that it will plug into the sensor, and mount it on backwards, and we'll see what happens. That's the best I can come up with. If I'm wrong, then tell me. The car might tell me actually when I switch it all on and it says it's still not working. I suppose we'll find that out in a minute, won't we? Anyway, let's get it on. I'll get a bit of anti-seize on these threads just to make sure it comes out again in the future. And I did notice the casting number, the plastic casting number, or the moulding number I should say, on the old one. That is actually, we pick it up on here, but it's actually 2007 for the moulding number on the plastic body. So this is an original part to the car, because this car is a 2008 car. So that's been on the whole of the car's life, that one. So if the other one's the same, then I'm expecting that one will fail at some point as well. So it's another 170 quid to find. But shouldn't moan, I run a Jag, what do I expect? Well, that's the plug-in. That was fairly simple. Just a case of just twist it round a touch. Hopefully that should line up and we get the bolt in. Now there's a metal sleeve in the plastic body, but I'm not going to go mad tight, so I don't want to break anything. The actual electronic module itself is in a separate part of the mounting, if you see what I mean. So that's in this bit at the bottom. So you're not actually pressing on that at all. But that appears to have done the job. So let's hope that works. It's back to front. I don't know if that matters. I don't think it does, as I said. Let's just hope it works. Right, so fault code reads no faults in the impact classification system, or the ICS as it's called. So let's hope that that has fixed that fault, and we're not going to be doing it again. We might be doing it again on the left hand side, but let's worry about that when we come to it. Well, it hasn't come on yet. I'm jacked up off the floor, so I can't drive it. I'm not sure if it responds to a driver input or anything like that, or a drive input from the gearbox or anything. I just don't know. So all I can do really is trust the luck, and hopefully that's cleared it. But at the moment, because it's an intermittent fault, I've just got no way of knowing until I try it. So let's see what happens. I'll get the oil and filters done and get all that done out the way, get it back down on the ground, drive it home, and I'll report back. So we'll have a quick scan around the bottom of the engine while the bottom's off. Oil filter at the front, horizontal, screw on, screw off with your hand. Might need a pipe wrench, a filter strap if it's really tight, but I got mine off with the hand. Sump plug at the back of the pan here. I've got it jacked up in the air at the moment. I lowered it down to empty it, and then I jacked it up to get back underneath, and it started running a bit more, so that all ran to the back of the pan and then out the plug. So that's all done. I've got a bit of an oil leak, so I can just show you there. Just here, coming off this radiator mount. This is the radiator. I think I said intercooler earlier. I'm not entirely sure it's an intercooler. I might be completely wrong. There's another radiator matrix there of some description, and another, but I know that this one and that one over there, they're both oil coolers for the engine. And the reason I know that is because this pipe here goes up there onto a flexi swaged, solid to flexi with a swage on it, and then it goes around the back and ends up somewhere on the oil filter housing. And I think that the swage, can't show you really, it's not very easy to see, but up in there somewhere there is a swage which I think is probably weeping. It's been doing it a while. I knew this was doing this last year, but it's not really a problem. I didn't really have to lose much oil or anything, so I'm not too worried. But clearly it's pretty damp on there, so I'm suspecting that that needs to be done. Now that looks like an absolute nightmare to do. It looks like radiator out job to get to it, because you've got all this stuff going on and it goes up behind the rad. So that's something to book into the diary at some point, but goodness knows when. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see right up there, there's a swage pipe, and that is where I think it's leaking from, which is not good. It looks like an absolute pain to get out, because it's got a solid pipe on it. That one there, I think that will be a nightmare radiator job perhaps. And then it comes all the way round onto that fitting there, slight rusty fitting there, that goes onto the filter housing. So maybe when the belts are done on the alternator belt, I might have to take the rad out and change that pipe. So I have to keep an eye on the oil level for now. I'm pretty certain it is engine oil rather than transmission fluid. I don't think it's a cooler for the transmission. That might be one of the others, I'm not entirely sure. But whatever, I know that one of these is not on the XK, and that's why you can't get to the sensor that we did earlier from above. That would be really tricky to do. So yeah, there you go. So that's underneath. I'm also going to chuck a bit of rust proofing around the subframe, because these are sort of pretty prone to rust on the subframes, both front and rear. And I've got a bit of rust at the back there. I'm just going to give that a wire brush down, and I've got some Lana Shield, which I'm trying out. I've used Lana Guard before, everybody seems to rave about it, and then I saw Lana Shield at the Practical Classics show back in March, and he convinced me that his was better. So I bought a can of it, just a spray can, 10 quid, and I'm going to spray that around and see how it compares to Lana Guard. And I think one of the main things he says was it's thicker and it doesn't smell of sheep, his one. So maybe I'll report back on that perhaps, unless you guys have got experience of that. Everyone seems to be raving about Lana Guard, but I think a lot of that is marketing, because I've used it and I'm not hugely impressed. But horses for courses, what's good for one is not good for another. And the pièce de la résistance has got to be having to take the front wheel off to change the air filter. Here's the air filter box in there. There's your mass airflow sensor if you ever want to change that. And there's the air filter on the floor, and it goes in that slot there. And you've got to take the wheel off and take the underwing mud shield off to get to the box. But with the mass airflow sensor and the air filter and all of the servicing stuff, I say check out Paul at Life on Cars, because he's done all of this already on his channel. But yeah, taking the wheel off to change an air cleaner. Don't get me started. And the pollen filter, pretty simple on this car. Under this panel here on the left hand side, there's a left hand side airbag for the bonnet. Take the clips out, just lift that off, and the pollen filter is in this little canister here, and that's it there. And you just do exactly the same, pay attention to the way it went round. Now this was changed last year, because I remember, because we actually had a mouse house down there in the bottom of the pollen filter box, and there was loads of leaves and fluff and all sorts. We'd had a mouse some time in its life. I don't think with me, because I've only had it 2 winters and this was the first winter I'd had it. But there was a mouse house down there, and to be fair, this pollen filter doesn't actually look too bad. Well, there's a few bits of crap in it, but yeah, we'll just get rid of that. And that is how you change the pedestrian sensor on an XKR Jag 2008. Not too bad a job, as long as you can get the under tray off. I highly recommend you going under there if you're ever likely to get under the and you need to get under there very quickly. I highly recommend you going under there in advance to loosen off all the fixings and lubricate them, because if any of them seize up, you're in a world of trouble trying to get them apart. So if you think you're ever going to go under there and you're going to do your own servicing or anything, you know, you get a problem, you need to check it out. All the horns are under there, and there's a couple of other things which are easy to change. You don't want to pay anybody to do that if you can take the under tray off and undo a nut and get a horn off. And I would highly recommend you getting under there and getting that under tray off, just checking those fixings. So it's a pretty easy job at the end of the day. It's a pretty much plug and play. Seems to have worked. I haven't driven the car yet, but I'm hoping everything so far is checked out all right. So we'll see how that goes. And behind me you can see I've still got the Capri. Actually, these two are chalk and cheese, both two-door coupes. One is hugely comfortable. One is not particularly comfortable, but they both go like mad, and they're great fun to drive. And the next video on the Capri, well, that's anyone's guess, because I've got a few things happening with tractors coming up. We've got some rallies to go to and I've got tractors to get sorted out. But the Capri, I'm having a slight break from that at the moment. And if you want to keep up with what's happening with that and also everything else we've got going on the channel, then give us a shout on the comments, put a subscription down, like the video, share to your friends. It'd be great to have you aboard. Please get involved. And until the next time, come and see what we're doing at Wheels of Interest on the next one. Take care and bye for now.